There it is. I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube, and joining me tonight at Fred Barnabas as we discuss 1897. And no, this is not a repeat. I'm discussing 1897 again, and it's fun. So, eight at Fred Barnabas meant 1897. Is this like the creme de la creme for Dark Shadows?
I think it's the height of the storytelling for sure. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah,
Parallel Time has some ups and downs, but and interesting, but not like 1897.
right. I think what I like how this starts. There's sort of, in many ways, Barnabas and Julia have become like detectives. That they're literally trying to solve a case, but like before knowing all the facts. They're trying to piece together the clues in the wrong time period in the 60s, and you have this ghost in Quentin Collins who's just roaming the halls and like taunting the family, terrorizing the kids. How crazy and like amazing was this all at the same time?
Well, as a kid, Quentin was terrifying in the beginning, but once we get into the storyline, you realizes he's roguishly handsome, and and you can't take your eyes off of him, and that's credit to David Selby for sure.
Yeah,
But leading up to that, yes, it was very cool to the scene where Barnabas and Maggie make it into the room that's been walled off for years, and they find the I Ching wands and the gramophone. And that was all a lot of fun, and it was, from a story perspective, it was cool.
I always have fun with 1897. And my favorite joke to tell of this is I don't know how Def's business was in 1896, you know, but once Barnabas goes back to 1897 for Def, aka Mr. Best, business is booming.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Like people start dying. It's like man, this Mr. Best is gonna have to send Barnabas like a thank you card, like dear Barnabas Collins, thank you, thank you. It's it's amazing, but that's my favorite joke to tell of 1897 because by the end of it, we do get death. But before we get there, although, what did you think of them doing the using the I Ching wands to go back into time?
Well, I've done some research on them over the years. There is how many ever ways to throw them that Professor Stokes mentioned. That's all accurate.
Cool.
And I mean, obviously, I don't think it's going to allow us to time travel, but the way they did it in the story was very, very clever. And I remember as a kid seeing that episode where the door opens and it's the coffin, and you're like, oh shit. And then that was it, that was the cliffhanger. That was a big deal when I was a kid.
It to me, like if you watch this, whether you watch it on Tubi or if you own the Coffin box set, to me, it's still like huge. Like it's the way this is built up, the way they've built this up for Barnabas to have to go back to fight this and to take I mean, because he's taken a huge risk going back in the time. Him sitting down in the old house basement, his astro body leaving his normal body, getting up, walking towards the door where the I Ching wands are sort of the symbols on the door. And he's like you said, he sees the chain coffin, and I'm with you. It's like, Holy shit! Don't do it, Barnabas. Don't do it.
The
But he,
special effects they used there were quite revolutionary for the time.
yeah, I always love Dark Shadows special effects. Like now, now we're spoiled nowadays with the special effects we get, like CGI and shit. But there's just something about the effects of Dark Shadows that I don't know. To me, it still looks good after all these years.
Yeah, I agree. Most of the time, it holds up.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
but when he goes through the door, and so he's back in 1897, and we've heard mention of the character of Magda, and like during the séance with Professor Stokes and
Uh huh.
Chris Jennings, which that's leading up. That's one of my favorite scenes, like leading up to 1897, like them going back, because we're so used to like people not like these nice doctors, and even Julie is like nice now. She's not trying to poison Barnabas or nothing. So here's Stokes and Chris Jennings. After, when hearing the name Magda, he totally interrupts the seance, and I love Stokes for this. He gets right in his face and like, I'm curious as to why you did that, Mister Jennings. And I'm just like, oh shit. I thought like there's gonna be a scrap here or something.
Yeah, Don Briscoe, one of the other highly talented young actors on the show, unfortunately got into drugs and had a mental breakdown. He deserved to be a Hollywood star. He looked like a movie star.
He did.
Very sad what happened to him.
I'd like to think that Don Briscoe, that there's actors that were made for the Marvel DC cinematic universe. Brandon Lee, Don Briscoe are one and one A. Like to me, like if they were the well, if Briscoe would have been cast maybe in the 80s as an action hero, maybe as a Robin, or I think Patrick McCray said the Question. I agree, but there's many characters I could have seen him playing in that universe.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely could have. There's several parts, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, he ended up in back in Memphis with his parents, and I guess through most of the '80s into the '90s, he's working at a gas station as an attendant.
oh wow,
A couple of fans went down there to meet him in the '90s. I guess he still wasn't all himself, so his parents brought him to a hotel room where these fans were waiting to meet him, and they said he was very gracious
yeah,
despite his mind issues. That he was very talkative and was interested in fandom and whatnot. He would have been fun at a festival.
yeah. He, so 1897, we meet Magda. We get the physical appearance, and it's played by Grayson Hall. She's wearing the wig. I do believe. But I love how they have her look. They have her very. I love how they have her makeup. It's very. It's a dark tone. You know, it's not too dark. It they did it like the makeup for Dark Shadows was always good, but I don't know. 1897, it really seems to stand out.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that complain about Grayson Hall playing a gypsy.
I
I'm not
don't.
one of those people, though.
I'm with you. It's like when I did my Magda video, all I could see is Grayson Hall in that makeup. You know, like what were your thoughts on it? They have her play Magda. You have Thayer David playing Sandor.
Sandor.
Yeah, Sandor, sorry. But you have them playing these gypsies who are living in the old house because Edith Collins, who's on her deathbed, likes the gypsies. She likes Magda, but this woman, we didn't know, at the time of what her full involvement was with the werewolf or with Quentin and all that. But what did you think of that character?
Well, Magda's a very interesting character. She's kind of a, a con woman, and she's kind of roguish herself, but ultimately turns into some kind of a anti-hero, I guess you would say. Um,
Right,
Grayson Hall was just a wonderful actress. I mean, she could really do anything, and I think that's one of the marvels of a show like Dark Shadows, because she played a lot of different characters besides Julia Hoffman. I mean, she was the parallel time Julia, which is totally different than, you know, the prime universe Julia.
right,
And then Countess Natalie in the past. So I mean, the character of Magda was, well, I mean, Jonathan Frid had to have Grayson Hall as his right hand person, one way or another. So having her play Magda was just, it was a triumph.
right. And
And
it
I love her relationship with Sandor. I mean, they have a legitimate relationship. They love each other, and she cares about him, and you can tell from the very opening moments of the whole story.
Yeah, I like the fact that I'm with you. This character is like no character she's played before. Grayson Hall never plays her characters the same way. When she's playing a different character, she's playing that character. And it's really, and I could say the same thing for the other actors and actresses too. But I don't know, there's just something about Grayson Hall as Magda that will always stand out because it's just so damn good. I mean, she is a gypsy through and through, and she plays it that way. She believes in everything her people stand for and what they stand for. And eh, I wish they got Lewis Edmonds playing this Edward Collins. You have Joan Bennett playing oh gosh, I'm trying to think of her name, but oh, what was her name?
What is her name?
I know, like that's
Quentin
horrible.
always calls her dear sister.
Judith.
Judith Collins. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Thank you.
it just hit me. It's, that's so awful. But eh, so Judith, you have the brother sister thing here is just so dynamic because neither of them are in charge yet. Edith's on her deathbed. We don't know what her will's gonna say, you know. But when I love how Magda comes to see her and Magda prophesies, Barnabas's arrival, basically. and
Right.
and like she I love how she wants money. Like she just puts her hand out like, oh, you want me to read your future? Money. It, it's beautiful. It's like the gypsies literally, it's like, read your future, pay me make a phone call for you, pay me change a tire for you, pay me. Like no matter what you had the gypsies do for you, you had to literally pay them for their service, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, Edward is a pompous ass
He has.
through the whole story, pretty much. I mean, he treats Quentin like trash, but I guess Quentin ran off with his wife, so I understand that a little bit. But he, when Quentin obviously has changed a little, Edward doesn't give him an inch at all. because the werewolf curse does change him fundamentally. He's not a villain anymore. He's more of an anti-hero like Barnabas.
Right. It's really weird too because you could tell. I mean, Lewis Edmonds was so good at this, and so was David Selby. You could literally cut the tension with a spoon. You don't need the knife between two characters. Of
No, they really played well off of each other.
right,
Absolutely.
it's just so well done by both actors. Like you don't know if Edward is that much of an asshole to slug him or not, but he doesn't. He just looks. He's not necessarily just looking at him. He's almost looking down upon him, even though he's looking up, because David Selby's so tall. And it's like, damn, there's just some real heat between these characters, and you can feel the actors just make you feel it. And like you said, it's beautifully done. It's just the acting in Dark Shadows is perhaps the biggest unsung hero of the series. And what did you think of their waiting? Sorry, Edith Collins literally waits around for Edward to tell him the secret.
That whole scene when Barnabas walks in is priceless. When she realizes that he is the secret. And of course, Barnabas doesn't know what the hell to do. He's not going to kill her. You
Right,
know, he doesn't he doesn't usually kill just to kill. I mean, so he's kind of at a loss, and Frid, of course, is bumbling. You know, his performance on purpose this time to show the anxiety of this whole situation, and of course, by seeing Barnabas, Edith basically goes. She just loses her mind,
right.
which is obviously good for Barnabas, but it's not good for Edward.
He's like, tell me the secret. Tell me the secret. And she doesn't get to tell him because she dies. And it's just like, man, that's one casualty already. I mean, I know she was on her deathbed, but Barnabas sort of like gives her an extra push, not on purpose.
Yeah, I agree,
It's like,
but I'm not going to put that one in this column fully.
right, right. I know. It's just like, well, Mr. Best got sent one for you there, buddy. That's one, but it's like you got many more to go. What did you think of? We're introduced to Jenny, Quentin's wife. What did you think of Jenny Collins?
Well, I'm going to go out on probably a limb here because most people think she's wonderful.
Right,
I think Marie Wallace plays that part just a tad too much over the top. I, I, I mean, it's just a tad, and and I think they stretch out her introduction so long. I think they
yeah,
could have tightened that up a little bit, but overall, I mean, she's very integral to the story. I mean, she's the catalyst for everything, so she's
right,
very important. And
right.
I mean, I enjoyed the performance, but like I said, it's just a tad. And as a Dark Shadows fan, I think you and I can critique a little bit.
Right.
We're professionals.
I'm not going to call myself a professional. Here's the thing, though, too, and I'll say this: it, they have this woman locked in the tower room, and that's sort of where the introduction. It doesn't necessarily drag; it's sort of making you curious. But where it really drags is they when they just show the door and you have people going in and out, and they don't show you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They don't show you inside the room all the time. They're sort of I get what they're doing. They're building the suspense, But it's like
Well, it's tension.
right tension, suspense. It's they're building that, and I get that, and I appreciate that as a storyteller. But at the same time, it's like the room is dark. It's not necessarily. It doesn't mean I'm gonna necessarily see who's in the room because the way they lit that room, it was dark as hell.
Absolutely. When Barnabas finally makes it up there, though, that whole scene between him and Angelique
Yep.
is just it's incredible.
Right. They Quentin and Evan Hanley, some and Angel. It's like, what did you do, dog? You should not have summoned that woman. That woman is nothing but, and I love it too. She's nothing but trouble. And Quentin's like, no, we don't want any trouble now. And she goes, then you shouldn't have summoned me. It's like that's the line of the century, and it's well done by Laura Parker. I'm with you. It's like that scene between Laura Parker, Jonathan Frid in the tower is beautiful to watch. It's just so well done. The effects, the lighting, the mood, their interaction is beautiful together. With Jenny, though, back to Jenny, does she, when she killed Quentin, even though they prophesize, you know, there is Quentin's ghost, so you think, well, Quentin does die. But were you shocked that they had her stab him?
As a kid, absolutely.
Right.
And I was very upset when he comes back as a zombie because the way Selby kept his eyes open and
Right.
he wouldn't even blink. It
Right.
was driving me crazy as a kid because it was freaky as hell.
Right. It's real creepy the way he looks. I mean, he doesn't, as a ghost, you're right, he looks scary, but as a zombie, it's just, it adds a whole other creepiness to it because he's up walking around, not saying shit at all. He ain't saying nothing. He looks literally like a member of the Walking Dead without, trying to eat somebody. But it
It's his, he uses just his face to
yep,
convey so much emotion
yep,
and so little emotion. It's, he's a very talented actor.
yeah. He was just amazing as this. Quentin had a lot to do in this story. David Selby's character had a lot to do, and just everything they asked him to do, he did it and then some. And I'm with you. That zombie thing is just, it's creepy. It's creepy as hell. What did you think of Angelique telling Barnabas, you need to go back. You being here is a mistake. The longer you're here, the more the more things you'll change and mess up. What did you think of that?
Well, that's Barnabas's Achilles heel. He always tries to do good, and then he
Right,
ends up messing up the timeline. So he he couldn't leave because he has to save David and
right,
the rest of the family. But if he knew if he stayed, it was just a matter of time before somebody discovered his secret,
right.
which ultimately ends up happening.
Yeah, he he literally, we've talked about he takes this risk, and I'll say this: his biggest downfall ends up being Carl Collins. I love the fact that the introduction of Carl Collins is Carl holding a fake gun to Barnabas. What did you think of that?
That was a killer scene because I knew if it was real, it wasn't going to hurt him.
Right,
And if and if it didn't hurt him, then the gig was up right there. So uh, I think Barnabas didn't know how to interact with him. He's just too. Carl was a lunatic, but
right.
Carlin played him. I mean, that might be one of Carlin's best performances just the way the high pitched voice that he used for the character, and the way he would walk, and that and the period clothes. It was a tour de force from Carlin. Just
Yeah,
another wonderful actor.
yeah. I love how I love how he introduces Pansy Faye to, oh, this, I got married. I got married. He's just like, he's and he and only so many people are happy. Like he's just wanting someone to be happy for him, and it's amazing. It's like, and you learn Pansy's this medium. It's like, wait, you're you're a medium? Like, oh, cool. but but not so
I
cool for
think
Barnabas.
the the scene where Quentin realizes that Barnabas is his only hope of curing from the werewolf curse, and he knows he has to
Right.
allow Barnabas to kill his brother. And the look on Selby's face when that realization finally hits is
Yeah.
just heartbreaking. Very,
And
very heartbreaking.
I love how Carl tells him, I figured out who the vampire was. We know who the vampire was. It was Dirk. No, 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 no. There's somebody else. And he's just like, all right, who? You won't believe. Just tell me who. And he goes, Barnabas. Cousin. And Selby at first, Quentin is laughing. And then he stops like, our cousin who we never see during the day. It's priceless. It's like, yeah, yeah, that cousin who saved your ass, that cousin, and he knows it too. And you're right. It's sort of, there's a lot of emotions Selby goes through. I'm with you. Like him going, he realizes I have to let him kill my brother, and this is insane because this is the only man who could probably help me because he can't go to anyone else. He damn sure can't go to Edward. I think Edward would gladly put a silver bullet in Quentin and not think twice.
Probably right.
I mean, here's a guy who I love Quentin to death, but Quentin is basically like a pimp. He's the equivalent of it, a playboy. He'll sleep with any woman and every woman and not give a shit. And
But the
so,
women love him.
right, right, like bro, is he like the James Bond of Dark Shadows? You think?
Who Selby?
Yeah, Quentin. Yeah,
Well, I think the character of Quentin Collins is probably the most attractive in the whole series. Is well, I mean, you can uh Briscoe is definitely a heartthrob, but
right,
Selby just had something else going on altogether. It
right.
was the voice, the southern drawl that would come out every once in a while when he was given a monologue, and uh, the eyes, the piercing eyes that Selby has, and the fact that he grew his own sideburns because he
Uh,
hated the paste on sideburns that they put on him. I mean, he totally committed to the character of Quentin, and I think that's why it was so successful.
yeah, he like you said, he just does an amazing job. What did you think of when we finally see the hand of Patofe?
He's my favorite villain in the whole series.
I'm with
Um, when he comes on the scene as Victor Fenn Gibbons, you
right.
know immediately something's up. And you knew that was Fair David, but they did a really good job of switching up the wig and the beard to
Yeah,
really disguise him. And I mean that's all Fair David. I mean, he is like you said, the acting on the show is really the, the it's everything, and it's very underrated.
it is. I'm with you. Like my favorite, I love Angelique. I love Laura Parker to death. I'm with you. My favorite hill as well is Patofe. Just the hand alone. He didn't. The one thing I realized, wait, he doesn't necessarily need this hand to have all this power. He already has power. He just needs the hand so he can live. It's just like, oh shit, this dude is. When I heard the name Ben Givens, I'm like, what the hell kind of name is that?
Yeah, I think isn't there a scene where somehow the stub is shown and he doesn't have a hand? Somebody pulls off a glove or something. Might even be Quentin. And then they realize that he must be Count Batoffi.
Yeah, I think it's done in the old house. You're right. It's Quentin, and he pulls the hand, and there's the stub, and so they realize he's Patofe, and because he's asking for the hand. He's sort of hinting around about the hand. He wants the hand, and they pull off, and Quentin, you're right, pulls off the hand, and there's the stub, and then they realize, oh shit, this is Count Patofe, and you're right. An amazing scene, by the way. That scene is really cool. For those who want to go check it out, it's great. Hell, all of 1897 is great. What am I saying? But what did you think of? Here's Third David as this big protagonist, this larger than life heel, but he also has a henchman. He has, well, two really. He has Aristide and he has Charles Delaware Tate. What did you think of that?
Well, there's definitely something going on between Count Batoffi and Aristide. They have a very strange relationship,
Right,
and you never quite know. Are they a couple? Are they just or is he just the like you said, the henchman? I mean, what
right,
is going on between that? Because Ptolemy always talks about how pretty Aristide is.
right.
Um, and Michael Stroka, another great actor. I met him right before he died in the
Oh,
90s. We were in line at at one of the conventions, and Roger Davis was hitting on my mom in the line, which, go figure, Roger Davis, right? But then Michael Stroka came over and kind of saved us from the predator that is Roger Davis. And he just sat there and talked with us for about 10 minutes. It was very lovely. And it was just so nice to meet him. He just seemed like a really genuine person.
that's cool.
Um,
To me,
Delaware Tate is a Delaware Tate's a is a he has a he might be Roger Davis's best character. That's because it's a fully formed character.
right,
He has this power that Patofi gave him,
right.
and he resents the fact that he has this power now, and he just wants to be a normal person. And of course, he paints Amanda Harris. She comes alive, and he's in love with her. And wouldn't you know it, she loves Quentin.
Right, right. On top of Beth, on top of you know, on top of, let's see, Laura. Well, he had a relationship with the Phoenix. Quentin, on top of Angelique. Now you have another woman that's interested in Quentin. That they're lining up. The women are just there's just a line, and it's just a Quentin line. There's a line of women for Quentin.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. He is a pimp, if you want to call him. Playboy's better, but yeah, you're right. He's definitely a womanizer.
Right. Yeah. When I say pimp, I should really he is a womanizer. He's so damn charming. It's like, yeah, I'd sleep with Quentin, sure. It's, you know, and
Well,
it's just,
well, Beth can't resist him. I mean, Beth just
right,
can't. She's when she's around him, she loses all control.
right. It's like here's all these women just jonesing for this dude, and it's like, you lucky son of a bitch. Like, how many women can throw themselves at you? Like, seriously. And it's beautifully done. It's not necessarily laughable when you're watching it. You're more intrigued by it. Like really? Like really, really? But you get it though too, because he's devilishly handsome. He's devilishly, like I said, he's devilishly charming.
Exactly.
I will say this. I sort of like not the creation of Amanda Harris, but her death to me mimics a certain shadow agent story. It sort of mimics Harry Vincent's beginning of becoming a shadow agent because Amanda jumps off of a bridge. Okay. Now, I don't know what bridge. I don't think they say, but
I thought they were in New York,
okay. So would you say the Brooklyn Bridge?
but I remember them. Doesn't Quentin chase her to the train station?
I
And
believe,
then he ends up following her on the next train or something. They end up in New York. I thought somebody will
yeah.
probably correct us in a couple hours, but yeah,
Okay,
I
but
think she does. She definitely jumps off that bridge, whatever it is. Yeah,
right. So Harry Vincent, for those who don't know, is standing on the Brooklyn Bridge and he's going to commit suicide, a la Amanda Harris years later. But he's stopped by the shadow. The shadow saves him and puts him in the back of his car and they drive off the bridge. And that's where the shadow recruits him, is in the car. Now, if you take a woman, call her Amanda Harris, just don't have anyone save her ass, and jump, and Mr. Best is going to be fascinated by her too. Um, it reminds me sort of Harry Vincent in a way,
yeah. Mr. Best, what a character that guy is.
right?
Also creepy as hell.
Right?
Yeah, that
What
guy always creeps me out.
is this
Him
based?
and the dude that there's the guy that is equally as creepy. The person that figures out Cyrus Longworth is John Yeager. The other scientist that's giving Cyrus the compound to make the serum, and he figures out that they're one and the same. That actor is also almost as creepy as Mr. Best.
Yeah. Did Mr. Best? Let's call a spade a spade. This is death, right? I mean, they
Absolutely.
they can't say it because of censorship, probably. It's probably more sacred than the V word because they didn't say vampire until 1795. But they can't say death. But that's what Mr. Best is. He's death. And you're right. He's this creepy, weird, strange character that's just even though he's like he talks very nice, but he's just I don't know. He's just when he's around somebody, no matter even when he's talking nice to him, it's like I don't know. I get a chill, man.
The actor that plays him, and I don't remember his name, he bears a striking resemblance to Robert Corey, who did a couple of vampire films in the early 70s, The Death Master and the two Count Yorga films. I don't know if you've seen those,
I
but
have
that
not.
actor looks like Robert Corey. And Robert Corey is one of the creepiest people you'll ever see on the silver screen.
I believe it. I'll have to check those out, but because I haven't seen them, but I believe you. It, Dark Shadows always finds these actors. who are just know what they're doing, from an acting standpoint. And that character just gives you chills. Like you said, do you think Charles Delaware Tate, do you think they could have, I know they bring him to the present day, but do you think they could have maybe kept the character alive instead of having him killed off by the werewolf?
I guess they could have somehow,
Right.
but I think Roger Davis wanted out of his contract. I think that's the only reason he left.
Oh wow. I,
But I mean, yeah, he could have hung around in 1970 for another couple months. They could
right.
have had something for him to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge Roger Davis fan, so, you know, I didn't really miss him when he left the show. In fact, he's the true villain of House of Dark Shadows. Jeff
Oh,
Clark is the villain of House of Dark Shadows.
oh, I'm sensing some tension, man. I am. I think this is because he hit on your mom.
Well, that was uncomfortable, let me tell you. I mean, I was torn because I'm like, well, it's Peter Bradford hitting on my mom, but then I'm like, but I know all this history about him because I know how he slapped Joan Bennett too hard. He would kiss Alexandra Isles too aggressively, and he just had a horrible reputation amongst the cast, and which is probably why he wasn't at the table with Lara and KLS. They probably didn't want him there. I don't think there's any love lost between him and the rest of the cast that's still around.
Now, I'll say this with House of Dark Shadows. Do you, because many people have, I've heard some say they should have gotten Joel Carruthers to be, the hero of the story. But by the time they did the movie, Joel Carruthers' character, he hadn't been killed off, but he was long written off.
Yeah, and Joel Crothers was on Secret Storm at the time, so
Right.
he wouldn't have he wouldn't have been available. But would he have been better than Roger? Probably,
Right.
probably.
So, I mean, it's crazy to think like who they could have, maybe casted as the protagonist, or I know you say villain, which I love. I love how you have him as the villain of House of Dark Shadows. That's beautiful, man. I love that. But it's crazy to think that House of Dark Shadows is this movie where they take a plot line. They're taking basically the Maggie Evans plot line and sort of using it in the movie.
I just lost you. Can you repeat that?
I'm sorry. In House of Dark Shadows, they're taking the Maggie Evans plot line from the series to a degree and using it in the movie where Barnabas.
I, Go ahead. I'm with you again.
Okay. They So in the movie House of Dark Shadows, for those who have never seen it, they take the Maggie Evans storyline that where instead of having Barnabas kidnap Maggie, he courts her in the movie. He's, romancing her. He's not forcibly kidnapping her. So they're basically taking that story from the series and somewhat using it.
Right. Exactly. And it
And
works 100%.
it does.
Works. And yeah, I mean, we could talk a whole hour about HODS. That's one of my favorite films.
We'll have to do all three Dark Shadows movies, because when I do one movie, I just do all of them.
Oh, I don't have much good things to say about Depth Shadows. It's an abomination.
I don't either, but we will do that another time. We're gonna continue 1897, but so Quentin's our werewolf. He's the one kid. How about the cell job David Selby does when one of the kids dies,
Oh yeah, that whole arc is just adds another layer to his character, and it
right?
really adds to his whole emotional state. And I mean, Quentin is, by the time we get to 1970, he's lost.
Right.
He's a lost soul. He's been through so much. He can't die. He's seen death. And as if you follow the Big Finish stories, he's been through World War II and everything. So yeah, that's a great scene. Everybody should check that out.
Yeah. It's I'll say this. I do. Here's one thing I'll always refuse to believe about Quentin because he literally has a weakness for women. I refuse to believe this guy has more than one set of kids with one woman. Like Quentin has more kids out there somewhere to some woman or womans.
You're probably right.
Like it's the character's just that charming, right?
Well, if Mark Perry's listening, the writer of Dark Shadows Reincarnated, he
Right.
needs to bring in the illegitimate sons of Quentin Collins in the new series.
Right. Right. That I wouldn't mind seeing that either. It's like Quentin having kids, kids out there is a huge possibility, or more than one at least. So why not? What were your
Well, one of them's going to be a werewolf if it's a male.
right, right?
So that would be really interesting, bringing that into this new Dark Shadows series they're talking about.
Would you now? There's going to be characters they have to recast. So do you recast Chris Jennings?
I think you have to.
Yeah, it's
After you have to do the same with Quentin.
yeah. I think it's just again, I know we're all excited for it, like we're hoping for it. So, but man, it's going to be really cool when we hear that news. It has been picked up. I will be like doing jumping. My fat ass will be doing jumping.
You and me both, man.
you know. But it's what did you think of? I love how they have a lot of magical spell. Laura Parker's Angelique do a lot of magical spells in 1897. First, she does this disappearing act, for the Phoenix arc where she does the mirror. Then she does the same trick for Barnabas to sort of help him not be a vampire anymore. What did you think of that?
Well, that the special effects on those scenes are incredible. First
Right,
of all, um, yeah, creating a doppelganger for Barnabas so that that version of himself can be staked while they work on finding a cure for him with Julia and Angelique was just brilliant by the writers, and of course it allowed Jonathan Frid to go off the show for a month, did a 2 week engagement, I believe, for Wait Until Dark, uh, out of town somewhere in the Midwest, and came back to the show refreshed. By that time, Quentin is Count Batoffi, and and Edward's still a pompous ass.
he is too. I don't. Here's the thing too. I'm with you. I love the effects, and I love the fact that they had Julia Hoffman literally come back to 1897 to find out what the hell was going on. But she's not there long because she doesn't have a physical body to tie down to. So it's amazing that she's, willing herself back because well, it's called space. Right? Julia is in love with Barnabas Collins. That's hello. Did I lose him?
Nope, I lost. Uh, I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. What happened? Yeah,
Okay,
you're back.
okay. I'm sorry. What I was trying to say. Sorry about that, Skype. What I was trying to say is Julia wills herself back to 1897, her astro self, but she has no body to tie her there. This is Julia being in love with Barnabas so much, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
she went back to save him,
Yeah.
and that's why they're you know uh, Barnabas and Julie are the two. I don't know. They're like yin and yang of each other, even though Barnabas doesn't reciprocate her feelings. But I
Right.
love Julia. Julia she's awesome.
Yeah. Grayson Hall, just an amazing actress. I mean, but what did you think of? I'm trying to think. Count Petofi. We talked about him being in. Well, he hops in Quentin, but he was body hopping earlier too. What did you think of them showing off Count Petofi's powers by having him jump in David Hennessy's body, and then I love my favorite part of Edward is Edward being a butler.
Yeah, David Hennessy is really does a hell of a job
Yeah,
that part for that week or so of those episodes. He's really shows his range, and it's kind of sad he didn't continue acting because he's very talented.
yeah,
But it shows how powerful Count is. I mean, he has the ability to possess, or change people, or he's just all powerful. I mean, he's really Angelique is no match. She's no match. I mean, Toffee is just all powerful.
yeah.
He's not Nicholas Blair who has some limitations. I don't think Petofi really has any limitations.
No, he doesn't. I do think the Petofi's biggest weakness, I think, really is perhaps underestimating the people he's up against at times. There's moments I
Well,
feel,
yeah,
Petofi is, and don't get me wrong, like being cocky is part of being a villain, part of being a heel. But I think there's times too where Petofi does that, and I more think that I get Aristide sort of stabs Petofi thinking he's still Quentin, but this is why I would say Petofi is cocky because he, the last time he saw Aristide was in Quentin's body, so Aristide still believes that Quentin is Petofe. And again, I just think arrogance caught up with the Count, and you have Aristide stab his own master, which is a hell of a plot, line.
yeah. What happens to Petofi? The cottage goes up in flames.
Right,
Darth Blackwood is chasing him, but he could still be alive in 1970. We just don't know.
right. I do
And
think
they
he,
should have brought him back.
I think really what Patafi may have done is because the hand could, I think at this point, the hand could be detached and reattached at will. I think Patafi put every ounce of himself in that hand. And whoever, wherever the hell that hand is where Patafi is.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I,
it's a hell of a concept to think about because the hand was already so powerful. But
I mean, think how 1840 would have been so different if they were fighting Patolfi again instead of
right,
Gerard.
and
It
Judah
would
Zach,
be it would have been cool.
yeah, I like Judah Zachary the Warlock. I do wish we would have gotten Judah more outside of someone else's body. Don't get me wrong, I love James Storm, but I mean they went with that sort of him possessing James Storm's body, which I didn't mind, or using James Storm's body as his vessel. It felt, I don't know, very Nightmare on Elm Street Part Two, which I don't mind. So with that, yeah, I wouldn't have. I would have loved to see Patofe return to the series before it ended, but again, that's just something more Mark B. Perry could use. Patofe is just out there somewhere, and damn sure that hand is. You know, it's there's just a
Yeah, I
whole.
think he could really run with bringing the Count back.
Yeah,
I
there's just
would I would be ecstatic if that's how the show opened with the hand. It would just be unbelievable.
there's just a whole string of possibilities with it. What did you think of King Johnny Romano?
Um, well, that actor was married to Marion Ross from Happy Days.
Right.
And she showed up in Jonathan Frid documentary. But I thought that wasn't there a trial? Magda went on trial.
Yeah.
That's some
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that was some good stuff there. And Julianka, who ends up dead. I mean, that's all. It's awesome. That's all I can say.
Yeah. For those who don't know, and here's the thing too. This sort of lets you know how wrong Edward Collins really is. He looks down upon the gypsies, like the gypsies have no rules, no laws. But he's wrong because King Johnny Romano shows up and he's angry at Julian about Julianka's death. He's angry at Magda, and he holds a trial against her. One of his own people, and it's done in the mausoleum. I, I'm with you. This scene, all of it is amazing, and it's done. It's acted to perfection.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love that whole arc there for, a couple episodes. A lot of fun.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%.
I'm trying to think if we've covered everything for 1897. Um, I think so. Is
Well, I'm
there?
going to ask you a question.
Sure.
What did you think about Barnabas's staking when he gets staked? I mean, how did that make you feel?
When I first saw this on TV in the 90s, because I didn't see this when I didn't see Dark Shadows when it first aired. I saw it in syndication. So when the way the Sci-Fi Channel worked, it would show 4 episodes of Dark Shadows from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. You know, I believe was the time. It may have been 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. One of those times. So when I saw the staking, that's where they left it until the next day, till I had to see it the next day. So my reaction was like, holy fuck, that was intense. Like, I was just shocked. It's even when you watch it today, even though you know what's coming, it's still shocking. I can only imagine what it was like in the 60s. How did you feel about it though?
Oh, I cried.
Oh, wow.
But I saw it in 1986. So, and I had to only got to see one episode a day, Monday through Friday. So, um, I didn't know what to think,
Right,
and I didn't know the history at that point because this is right around the time when Catherine Lee Scott's first book came out. I don't
right,
think I had read it yet, so I
right,
didn't know if Barnabas was ever coming back.
right.
And yeah, I wasn't happy. Was not happy.
That's amazing. I love that story. That is really, really cool. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
I think we've covered some good stuff tonight. I'm sorry about the video quality.
No, it's not your fault. Just Skype tends to freeze. Again, I've explained this to everybody that comes on. Skype can be the biggest bitch ever at times. So, I don't think it cut out too bad. I think we only lost maybe a couple seconds, which isn't too bad. So I've had worse. I've had literally where I've been in the middle of a recording and Skype dropped the call. Um,
That's not fun.
no, no, that's not. And that happened with another friend of mine. And and what it did was the recording just stopped too. Like it totally went off. And I'm just like, oh, oh no.
Well, maybe in the new year we can arrange I Barnabas to come on and talk about House. That would be fun.
Our next, I want to get you and him on to do this Superman discussion. We got to get together and do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all
So
up for that.
I'm gonna set something up with him, and when he lets me know his schedule, I'll shoot you a text. I'll shoot him a text, and we will arrange something for sure. Because I already got you guys in a group text for a Skype call one day. I already set that.
Uh-huh.
I already got that set up.
I
But
look forward to it, my friend, and it was a pleasure talking to you tonight.
if you guys want to hit at Fred Barnabas up, he's at Fred_Barnabas on Twitter. Go follow him on Twitter. Really knowledgeable, really huge, huge Dark Shadows fan like myself. Man, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and join me tonight. I had a blast.
I did too. Peace. I'll talk to you
Pete,
soon.
peace. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.